I made a decision quite a long time ago that I was never going to let it stop me, because there's one way I look at things, and that is that although, yes, I have epilepsy and I could have a seizure at any point and it could end my life, like right here, right now. Just knowing that, it's like, well, whatever I can claim and whatever I can do with my life, like I want to do.
Hello, it's Zoe, coach, creator and mischief maker behind the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. I'm on a mission to help you rediscover that rebellious streak, find your confident inner badass and stop holding yourself back from the amazing life you've been dreaming of. Join me each week as I discuss mindset, share stories, or develop strategies, sometimes alone, but most often through interviewing adventurous, unconventional guests who are shaking up the status quo, living life on their terms, and impacting the world by doing things differently. Not long ago, I woke up one day and thought this isn't the life I'd imagined for myself. I felt disconnected and unfulfilled, but I set my intention firmly on adding more fun, getting out of my comfort zone and becoming curious about what truly lit me up. And then magical things started to happen, including this podcast. As that famous quote goes, she remembered who she was and the game changed. I've always loved the word mischief because it's cheeky, playful, and a little bit rebellious. And that's exactly what I hope this podcast brings to the table. Let's rewrite the rules, throw two fingers up to society, and do more of the things we love. So I'm here to empower you to boldly rebel against the ordinary and support you as you design a life you don't want to escape from. If you feel called to activate your own adventure and make unconventional your new normal, I dare you to jump in with me. Oh, we've got it all this week. Skating, ADHD, epilepsy, thrill-seeking, and living life to the fullest. Cath Shanks started her career as a talented footballer with a scholarship to America. But what happens when the dream you've spent years working towards comes crashing down around you? In this week's episode, we look back at a time when Cath felt lost, wanting to leave university, but was unsure what to do next. She then landed a job that brought her closer to her childhood dream of skateboarding, however. And although it wasn't the job itself, but a serendipitous series of events that saw her overcome her fear of stepping into a skate park, it changed her future in one moment. In just 6 months, she had gone from being scared to try skating in public to landing her first job as a skateboarding coach. Cath admits that she still suffers from imposter syndrome, despite all of the experience of coaching she's now amassed, but continues to dream big despite everything. The biggest dream of all being to create her own safe space for others to not only skate, but grow in confidence, nurture mental health, and ultimately feel like they can do anything they put their mind to.
I say every week that I'm really excited to talk to everybody, but it's genuinely true. I'm always excited because I always reach out to people that I really want to talk to. And you've been on my radar for quite some time. And then I came to your talk at Camp BC last year, and Fee O'Brien was telling me, you've got to talk to Cath. So I'm so glad that we've actually been able to find a date to do this. Welcome to the Mischief Movement podcast, Cath. And what is your mischief?
I've got quite a few, but I would say if I wanted to round it up, like if I wanted to put it into like a kind of something that rounded it all together, I would say it's just going against the grain. And basically that means like doing the opposite of what I'm told to do, or doing something that's not sensible, or that I'm not supposedly allowed to do. And the main one of that is that every time I go to the doctors for a review, they ask me why I'm here or whatever, and they're like, skateboarding and epilepsy, that doesn't go very well, does it? And then as soon as they say that, it makes me want to go and skateboard even more, because I'm like, well, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do with my life? So that's kind of like how I'd round it up. It's like if someone tells me I'm not allowed to do something or I shouldn't do it, that makes me want to go and do it more.
So have you always been a bit rebellious?
Yeah, I would say so. I had a period of my life where I would spend my evenings / early mornings sat on the top of 40-story buildings, dangling my legs over the edge, knowing that at any point the police could arrive. Just to clear it up, yeah, it's not illegal, so I'm not like, I've never been arrested or anything. I've just had a few fair warnings, but just those things where other people would think, what on earth are you thinking about doing that for? Yeah, just getting those like thrills.
Is that what it was? Was it just that sense of, I'm not supposed to be doing this and so I'm going to do it?
Half of it, because the main place I did that was in Manchester. I have done it a couple of times in London, but it was one of them where the only way you can get that view is if you're paying thousands of pounds a month, or you've spent, quarters of £1,000,000 on the top flight. What do they call that? Like the top flat, penthouse.
Yeah.
So like if you're paying all that money for a penthouse suite, but we were just like, we're going to take that view for ourselves, we're going to just go up there and we're going to get that experience without paying a single penny. Yeah, we might get chased away by the police at the end of it, but like we want to reclaim what could be ours. And also it's just so freeing to have that view and to just have that different perspective of the city. Like there's a couple of photos that I've got where it's just insane. I'm stood on top of this building, and in the background you can just see the entire span of Manchester, and very few people get to see it from that perspective. And it just had that excitement that knowing at any point the police could turn up and we're going to have to leg it, and then we'll get that adrenaline rush. So yeah, that I went through a period of that. And yeah.
I mean, you do strike me as quite a rebel. Just the fact that you've got epilepsy and you don't let that stop you from doing what you love is a pretty rebellious act at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so. I think I made a decision quite a long time ago that I was never going to let it stop me, because there's one way I look at things, and that is that although, yes, I have epilepsy and I could have a seizure at any point and it could end my life, like right here, right now. And I've been reminded by the doctors of that, like any one seizure, whether I'm laid in bed or whether I'm on the top of a building, any one seizure could end my life at any point or could change my life. Like I could be have brain damage from a singular seizure. I had one that was almost 20 minutes long before, and that can leave you really, really unwell or change the way your brain can act. So knowing that and the restrictions that already puts on my life, e.g. I'm never allowed to drive, so my dream was to get a VC camper. Not a VC. What's it got? A VW camper. It's because we go to VC every.
VC, yeah.
Yeah. Just knowing that, it's like, well, whatever I can claim and whatever I can do with my life, like I want to do. And when people question that, like, oh, are you sure you want to be doing that? Because there's extra risk. I'm like, well, I could also just cross the road tomorrow and get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
So if anything, the additional risk, it doesn't really mean anything to me, because I'm very aware that my life could end at any point. People have lots of random medical issues and stuff like that. So it's always slightly on my mind that I need to live as much as I can right now, because I am very aware that at any point something could happen. But I think it's those sort of things where when people question it, I'm like, but I could be in a car accident tomorrow. I could be on a bus, which is, one of the most solid vehicles to be on. And if we had a car crash, if I'm on the top deck, I'm probably the least likely to get injured, but it could happen. Yeah. So I'm not going to stop my life just because of the risks, the additional risks that I have with epilepsy. Because at the end of the day, people have freak accidents all the time. If anything, it spurs me on to make sure that I live my life to the fullest while I have my life, because I'm on 5 epilepsy medicines at the moment. So it's already trying to dampen what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah.
So it just means when I can do what I want, then I'm going to do it to the max.
Yeah.
And especially the skating, like they're like, but what if you're on a ramp and you have a seizure? I'm like, yeah, then I have a seizure. Like, I do it all the time. Yeah, I might be on a ramp, but I've also been walking down the street. I've also been sat in my flat, and I have maybe fallen and hit my head, but what's the difference, type of thing. I'm sure people could tell me a lot of differences, but would I listen to them? Probably not.
So what does living life to the fullest and living life to the max look like to you? I'm sure it involves a lot of skating.
Yeah, I think it's just doing what I want to do. And obviously there are voices from other people, like questioning my decisions. There are voices from myself, like measuring risk. That's what I would say is it's a measured risk. Like, if I really think it's stupid or like super silly, like not silly in a fun way, like silly in a wow, I'm increasing the risk level to like a really stupid amount. Then I do measure the risk of it, and that might just be waiting until my seizure control's a bit better. So some days I can have 4, 5, 6 seizures in a day, and if it's one of those days,
Wow.
I'm not going to get on my board, or I'm not going to climb to the top of a building. But if it's when I'm a few months seizure free, then I'm way more likely to decide, okay, now's a good time to try that. So skateboarding, I love that, and it gives me joy. So like I need to find those moments that give me joy, whether they're more risky or not. It's all about timing, but it's also just about doing other things I love, which is spending time with people I love, which is doing other thrill-seeking activities. I think part of the reason I love doing things that other people might see like thrill-seeking or risky or whatever, things that other people wouldn't even dream of doing or will think is silly to do, like skydiving. I haven't been able to do that yet because you have to be seizure-free for a certain amount of time to do it. Like, I also think it's might be to do with the ADHD, because I found out when I did a bit of research that ADHD isn't an overactive brain. It's actually part of your brain is underactive. Okay. So for me to get to the normal level of functioning in a certain part of my brain, that's why I'm overactive or hyperactive, if you wanted to use the word that's in the diagnosis. I need to do more, and that's why like I might move a bit more, or I might need to do more thrilling things just to get my brain to a normal functioning level for someone that's neurotypical. So
yeah,
people drink coffee to get their energy levels high, whereas me, it just levels me out. Same with like caffeine and also sugar. It's like I might drink that just to get to a normal neurotypical functioning level, whereas other people do it to take them over. So I'm trying to figure out what gets me to a normal functioning level so I can sit and do my emails or whatever. But yeah, just to feel like I'm kind of feeling something almost. I love doing things that actually do excite me, and it does take a lot to get me to that thrill-seeking level. And I think that's why skateboarding is great, because I can have a skate where it just keeps me level because I'm doing things that I know I can do. But then when I put myself out of my comfort zone and I'm trying something new and I feel like it's risky, that's when I actually really feel. And that's when I'm like, why I like those sort of skates where I'm putting myself out of my comfort zone, because I know I've gone over my normal functioning level and I've got to a level where I'm like, oh my God, this is scary. This is like, and then when I land it, I've got that adrenaline rush, because other things that give people adrenaline rushes actually just don't for me. So
tell me about the like how you got into skateboarding then, because it feels like it's such a big part of your life.
Basically, I wanted to skate from a very young level. When I saw Avril Lavigne's Complicated video. She just skates through a mall, and I just thought she was cool.
I'm just getting all the Camp VC memories coming flooding back to me now, that song.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it's because I did it on karaoke.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to become a skateboarder, but I was also a footballer at the time, and I was way more competent at football. And at football, you could go and there's a team spirit and stuff like that. And I was actually good, so it was a lot easier for me to carry on with that. But there wasn't a local skate park at the time, and I was really scared and anxious to go somewhere else, because I would have to go in as a complete beginner and learn on my own, because there wasn't skate coaches back then. So it was kind of like I just chickened out. I tried for so long. I would skate on my street, and then I was trying to learn to ollie up my curb, but not once did I actually commit to it. So fast forward at least 10 years, I'd quit football at that point because I wanted to do it in America, and then I got offers to go out on a scholarship, but then everything fell through on the England side, because we didn't have enough money to support me going over. And then I kind of lost the love, because I was all building towards this dream of going and playing in America, and I had the offers on the table, but the rug got pulled.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost my love for football. And I was studying sports coaching at uni, but there wasn't enough support in place for people. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD at the time. I did have a diagnosis of dyslexia. And obviously I had epilepsy, and there was just zero support. They did a few things, but nothing that ever really helped. So I decided I can't do uni. Like, I changed uni after my first year to see if it was either the uni or the location, but it just didn't work for me. So I sat for like 2 months, 3 months, just figuring out what I wanted to do, and just work through the kind of hole that I dug myself in, thinking, what am I going to do? I can't apply myself. So I just got a normal job, and only when I got a normal job did I kind of feel like I could tell my dad that I wanted to drop out of uni, because I'm not a type of person that would just be like, oh, I don't want to do uni anymore, and just I'll wait and figure it out. I had to wait in long enough to think, okay, I know what my next step is. So I got a normal job. I did that for 6 months, and then out of complete randomness, which is kind of how I live, I just saw a job online for a social media job in Manchester. So on my lunch break, I did a phone call. I accepted the job. I think I worked there for 3 or 4 years, and I found out they had a girls' night at the local skate park, and I was like, oh my god, like this is it. This is my chance. And it took me 3 months to build up the courage to even go to the girls' night, even though it was all female, all the coaches female, and the park was exclusive. I still had 3 months where I would try and build myself up and the courage to go, but I just couldn't bring myself to it.
What were you scared of?
I don't know. Maybe it was failure. Maybe it was other people judging me, because it wasn't a beginner's night. Although there was coaches there to help, it was like there's still going to be a lot of people who are better than me and who might judge me for being a beginner. But as soon as I stepped in the skate park, into that environment, I realised all of those fears I'd built up in my own head. And actually, it was such a supportive environment. And that day changed my life. 2 days later, I went to another skate park and just threw myself down the ramp until I learnt to drop in. And then I started going to skate parks, other ones outside on my own. And I realised that I just needed that first step. And all of those things I'd built up in my head.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes you get to a park and people are a bit not as supportive as others for beginner skateboarders, or you feel like people are expecting you to be good at skate, or they're like there's people watching you because you're female thinking, oh, I wonder how good they are.
Yeah,
so like
I think they can be a bit intimidating, can't they, sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. But that first time I stepped into an actual skate park, I was like, it changed my life. And then I've just gone from strength to strength. So I think I'd been skating 3 months. I had a lot of previous history with sports coaching, mainly through football, and I did some multi-sports as well. And 2 or 3 months after starting skating, there was a job that came up at that skate park with the girls' night, and I got a job there coaching. And then 2 or 3 months after that, they had a full-time job, which was female development through skateboarding. And I got that job. So within 6 months of starting, I had a full-time job working with girls. We went into local schools. Yeah. And just from there, my passion became giving people the opportunity to feel safe in their entry to skateboarding and helping people start skateboarding, because I know exactly what it feels like to not have the confidence to go into a skate park, to feel like I'm never going to be able to do things and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my life now. I've dedicated my life to it, because I wish that this sort of stuff was there when I was younger, because if it was, I would have had 10 more years of skateboarding experience.
Yeah.
And I'm honoured to be able to play some sort of part in other people's entrance to skateboarding, especially females and especially young girls. So
yeah. I mean, in terms of like the coaching side, is that the part that you really enjoy? Is it the kind of showing people what's possible, helping them build their confidence? What kind of problems do you come up against when you meet like people who want to get involved in skateboarding?
Exactly what you just said, to be honest. It's the confidence. People have to kind of put themselves in situations where they feel super vulnerable. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially with skateboarding, because for people, I would say over 20 or over 25, they're in the same situation that I was, where all we've ever seen in the media is guys that are really good. So like, it's always that, or it's not for me. And so that's even makes you feel even more vulnerable. And also having zero experience to take that first kind of movement into starting, it just goes against everything your body tells you. You're like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do that. And it's scary, because you are going to fall at some point. But that's why I feel so passionate about it, and why I do care more now about coaching than I do skateboarding myself. Like, I love skateboarding, but I skate myself way less than I coach, because it's just kind of grown into this. I get such a better reward from teaching people and watching them grow, and watching them achieve new things, and watching them overcome their fears and build their confidence, because I just see them as me when I was in that position, and how it made me feel, and knowing that I can help other people get over those boundaries and face their fears head on, but with so much support, that gives me such more reward than myself learning a new trick. Don't get me wrong, when I learn a new trick, I'm absolutely buzzing and I still push myself, but I do spend a lot more time coaching than I do skateboarding.
I'm excited to continue partnering with Plight Club, a brand whose mission is to change the attitude towards vulnerability and to encourage more conversation around it in order to increase real human connection. Connection is one of my core values, as you know, so to bring more people together and help you rebel against staying the same, Plight Club are offering a cheeky 10% discount when you use the code MISCHIEF at the checkout. 50% of the profits from this organic and rebellious brand are used to fund proactive suicide prevention in the form of coaching, support, and awareness raising. So get involved and become a vulnerable with us. For more info on the brand or to buy online, go to politeclub.co.uk or follow on Instagram at politeclubhq. P.S. If you are a small business doing things differently, an independent brand disrupting the status quo, or simply an unconventional, adventurous individual looking to create a positive impact, I'd love to hear from you about getting your story out there in the world and promoting you. DM me on Instagram at The Mischief Movement. Right, now on with the show.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got this thrill seeker side of you, but you've also got this side of you that gets so much out of coaching other people.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think my thrill seeking side, or just like putting myself out my comfort zone side, has been around skateboard coaching or coaching in general recently, but it's been taking the next step. So it's been traveling to other countries on my own with epilepsy, but going to do skateboard coach. So I have my safety net that I kind of feel confident in the work that I'm doing, but traveling to other countries, knowing with my health condition and stuff like that, and also traveling, I'd never traveled growing up. I went on a couple of really stereotypical UK family holidays to Spain or somewhere. I never solo traveled. I've done it to 2 different countries, which is Palestine and Morocco, but to do skateboard coaching. So I've never done it for anything else. So it's kind of a mix of both. Like solo traveling is scary for me, especially because of the epilepsy. But I know that my comfort is on the other side. So I'm going to be surrounded by skateboarders, and I'm also underneath a couple of organizations where I know there is going to be some level of support, but that doesn't mean I still don't shit myself when I'm about to head on the plane.
Yeah. Do you think that living in the present comes as a result of knowing that you're kind of fighting this epilepsy every day?
Yeah. I think it's kind of a mix between the two. Like, the reason I make sure I live in the present is because I never want to take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because again, I never know when my future will not be my future anymore. Yeah. Like when the present will end at some point. But also that, and I guess that's why I'm also thankful that I don't see the future. Like, because I'm ADHD, I have kind of time blindness. I think when I agreed to go to Morocco, it was in either February or March, and I wasn't due to fly out until September. So I don't know where that time went, but it was so far away. I was like, oh, it's chill. And then the next thing I know, I am on the flight. But yeah, like I say, like when I was in Morocco, my life was in Morocco and I didn't see anything else. I knew at some point I'd be coming back to the UK, but that was my life then for 2 months. Like, it's not, oh, I'm just coming out here for a couple of months and because my life's back in the UK. It's like, no, I'm here and I'm living here now.
Yeah.
And that's just how I roll.
Well, it's actually quite a skill. A lot of people can't live in the present. You know, they get tied up in knots over what happened in the past, or thinking about the future or what might happen. So it is also a blessing if you're able to do that. What opportunities has skateboarding given you? Because it sounds like already it's given you travel, it's given you new sort of like cultural experiences. It's really opened up your world, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's changed my life, like 100%. Like, since that day that I decided to step into the skate park, it became my life and it changed my life. And I'm forever thankful and grateful for skateboarding. It has given me the not the confidence, but it's given me the opportunity to see more of the world than I ever thought, because growing up, I just never really thought that traveling was something I would be able to do, because I think I'd been on a plane once, and a couple of holidays I went on with my dad, because I lived with my mum for the majority of my childhood, and then my dad lived somewhere else, but he took us on a couple of holidays. We always drove. So it just never seemed like something I could do. And then I heard about Skate Pal, and I just, because I was an adult and I could make my own decisions, and I felt like I had a safety net of skaters there, I was like, I'm just going to do it. And then, so I like applied, and then I got accepted. And then the next thing I know, I'm in Palestine, teaching skateboarding. And I was like, oh my God. And then that opened up the world for me. I was like, I can literally get on a plane and just go anywhere. And then all of a sudden it was like, like my entire world has opened up. And for now, the only trips I've done have been skateboarding based, because that keeps me somewhat in my comfort zone, but it has allowed me to feel safe traveling on my own, because that's I know that on the other side, there's some people to support me. I think maybe if I didn't have epilepsy, I would feel even more comfortable to go to other places. But I do feel like, for the most part, I need to have a support network on the other side, because I know that things can go wrong, or I can get ill, and things can change quite quickly for me. Not only that, but that's one of the biggest things it's done for me. I would say it's given me confidence in myself and my skills, but I still massively struggle with imposter syndrome, because I've been doing work with Skateboard GB. I now train other coaches to become skateboard coaches. Wow. I've been doing some work with, I don't know if I'm allowed to say who, but I contracted with somebody, like an organization, and I do partnership work with Nike through them. And I just look, sometimes I'm like, what? They trust me and they want me to do this work for them, and I'm just like, how the hell have I got here? Like my all-time goal when I started skateboarding was to be able to drop in, and I did that on day 3, and I've been on such a journey since then that I genuinely, whenever some work comes through or I sign a contract, I'm like, how the hell did I get here? And also, why have they picked me? So like, I still do struggle with imposter syndrome, but I've really been working on that, because I have to give myself credit. I've worked really fucking hard to get where I am. And I know that I do deserve these opportunities, because I constantly try to improve myself and become the best person and the best coach that I can be. So I've done a lot of growing, and I do understand now that I do deserve these opportunities, but there's also that 10-year-old me, where if you told 10-year-old me what I'm doing now, she'd be like, nah, there is no way that that's where you are now. Like, even if you told her I'm skating, she'd be like, no way, what, like Avril Lavigne? So I've got so far, and genuinely, that's all through skating, because I used to be a football coach, and I did my level 2, and I was only like 18 at the time. Footballing, I could believe, but the fact that I dropped football and I've shifted to skateboarding, which in my heart is always what I wanted to do. I used to sneak out the house and find a little cul-de-sac where no one was watching and try and do some stuff. It's just changed my life, and it's made me grow so much and given me opportunities I literally could never have dreamed of. So I'm forever indebted.
You're literally designing your whole lifestyle around the things that are really important to you. And that is something I'm such a massive advocate for on the podcast, but I mean in life in general. I'm constantly telling people and trying to show people what's possible, and it really feels like you're doing that. you've taken something that really mattered to you and you've just kind of let it grow organically to a point, but then also steered it by saying yes to those opportunities when they come along. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and I think that's also why when I have people that are like, oh, I've always wanted to try, but I'm a bit too old, or I wanted to try, but it's not for me. I'm like, no, like, stop right there.
Yeah.
It's for everybody. And if you don't believe it's for you, then it never will be. But if you genuinely take that leap of faith, then you can get there, and this can be for you. Like, I think that's the special thing about skateboarding as well, is it can be such an individual thing, and it can be a social thing, and it also can be a high level competitive thing. But you don't have to choose which one of them it is for you. For me, I really enjoyed this. I do enjoy the social thing, but for me, sometimes skateboarding is when something's not going so well in my life, or where I'm having a difficult patch. If my medication allows me, and if I'm not having too many seizures, I know that I can take myself to the skate park, and I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to interact with anyone. I'm just going to have a skate because I know that I'm going to feel better afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost like your therapy at the same time, isn't it?
It genuinely is, because like the last time I had quite a dip in my mental health, because I went through a big breakup. I was living with them and everything. I just was lost, and I was like, what am I actually doing? I would just go to the skate park, and it wasn't as if it helped me, but it just stopped all of those things that was going on in my head, and it just gave me peace for a little bit. Because all I was focusing on was skateboarding, and I was getting a bits of rewards, but I want other people to be able to access that, because I know it's changed my life, but I also know that it can be used to help me get through rough times and stuff like that. So every time someone says, oh, it's not for me, like, I need them to know that it is for them on whatever level they want to do it. But I also want to make sure that those people can get into it in the safest manner, or where they feel comfortable. And I think that's why the coaching matters so much to me, because sometimes it's not even like a coaching thing. It's like, I've done lessons before where I'm not necessarily teaching them, I'm just there for them. To make them feel more comfortable, or like they've got support, or just to have someone there so they feel safer at the skate park. And
so, like, in terms of somebody who might be listening to this who has wanted to have a go at skateboarding and feels completely fired up after this conversation, where's a good place for them to begin? How would you get into it now?
Okay, so I think this could be based around what their fears are. So if it's a fear of being judged at the skate park, then it's like, you don't actually have to start at the skate park. You can find somewhere that you feel safe, whether that's a basketball court somewhere that's out of view. Hence, I used to go to random cul-de-sacs, because I was like, I know no one's watching me. If the fear is of falling, then make sure you get the equipment to make the blows less, or get a coach. Or if it's being alone and feeling like you don't have the support, you could maybe try and get other people to come, or go to a group session. I think it's about identifying what your actual fears are around it, and trying to specifically combat those fears. Obviously, if it's a fear of just not being able to do it and just stacking it 24/7, then a coach is a really good place to start. But it is hard to find a coach who will cater to your needs. So I would definitely say a one-to-one, unless it's a social thing and you feel like you've already got some skills, a one-to-one, but really look and even like have chats with some coaches to see if they're going to be able to, if they understand you and meet your needs. Because I know that when I'm doing one-to-ones, I do have a lot of young kids that I work with, but my main target audience even, but the main people I get coming to me are females over 20.
Really?
Because they know that I understand exactly what it's like, and having a female teacher, not to be stereotypical, but they know that I understand the emotions a little bit more. And I, instead of focusing on the skateboarding, I'm also going to be focusing on how they're feeling and stuff like that. So it's just those little things about figuring out what your actual fears are and thinking about what might help you with those specific fears. Like I say, I've just mentioned a few things, but the other comment would be, it's gonna be scary, but that doesn't mean you cannot do scary things. So if you really want to do it, you got to take the hit and put yourself right out of your comfort zone, and trust me, you won't regret it. Unless you take your board to the skate park and try and drop straight in on a 5-foot ramp with no help, then you might regret it. But just reach out to some coaches or some people, and that can even be scary for some people, but just figure out what it is that actually scares you and see what you could do to try and avoid or try and help you cross those barriers, basically.
Is there like a sort of centralized body of coaches for skateboarding, or some kind of organization specifically for women, or I don't know?
So I know that on Skateboard GB's website there is a list of like all of the coaches and skateboard like skate schools and stuff like that. Also Instagram, there's lots of, if you see, there's lots of beginner skateboard women, and there's like London Skate Mums, and there's other groups around the country that might be of the same demographic and that are beginner skaters, where you can also reach out to them, because a lot of people in those demographics have done skate lessons, and so they might be able to recommend. I think just putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and even just reaching out to even a skater or a coach, or because I've done it before where I said, actually, maybe I'm not the best person for that, and I've recommended another coach. Just because I'd rather be honest and make sure someone has the best experience. I can't help everyone. I always try, but also it depends on location and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
But just reaching out, and people will get back to you, and hopefully. But if not, there is a list on Skateboard GB's website.
Perfect.
So yeah, hopefully they'll find someone.
And just before we wrap up, I know that you like to live in the present, but have you got any sort of burning desires or big dreams or situations that you imagine yourself in the future?
I want to travel more. That is a epilepsy dependent thing, because like this year I need to go back to Morocco. I really want to go back to Palestine, but obviously it depends on the situation there. Ceasefire now, please. And yeah, but I want to see new places. But currently it would be, I don't think for the next few months that I'm going to be allowed to travel, because I'm changing my medicines and it puts me more at risk and stuff like that. And holy shit, travel insurance is so expensive when you're epileptic.
Really?
But over Christmas I went to visit my dad, and he asked me and was like where do you want to get to? And my ultimate dream, we've figured for like what I'm doing at the moment, is to have a facility which has a skate park which is fully accessible for all people, to have a social area so that we can also do other things that's not just skateboarding, because I really want to work with people with special educational needs and disabilities, and also like a classroom so we can do educational talks, whether that's for young people around sexual health or just all of those things where we can get different people in, and we can use skateboarding as a tool to educate them on things that necessarily they might not feel comfortable talking about at school, but that's what I've tried to be doing a few times. I work with a charity in London. I've done a couple of skate sessions there. Where we use skateboarding, but we also do like leadership sessions and creative sessions and photography workshops. So like I'd love to have a facility where I can do all of that under one roof, because we could then create that safe space. Sure. Because if you try and do lessons for people in a bigger skate park where there's other people from the outside world coming in, it breaks that safe space.
Yeah.
So like the conversations like around consent and things like that, it needs to feel safe, because people aren't going to talk about it. And also like talking about mental health or body confidence, like all of those conversations that we could have that can be really impactful, they need to be had in a safe space. Yeah. And so that's kind of really what I want, is to have a facility where we can mix all of that up together. And also, so those people that feel a bit scared to take the first step into skateboarding, I can offer them a place to themselves, because most of my lessons at the moment, I do them in public skate parks, and so I am there to try and comfort them, but there still might be other people walking past, and that's too much for some people. So yeah I just want to I want to create something that feels so safe that people can feel like they can do anything.
It's incredible. I can't wait to see this actual space, because I totally believe that it's going to happen at some point for you.
As we would say in Morocco, inshallah. That means if God wills it. I really hope, and if my brain allows it and I can really apply myself and live my full potential, then it'll happen. So yeah, we'll see.
I can't wait, Cath. Listen, where can people find out more about you? Because I know that everybody off the back of this conversation is going to be desperate to follow you and find out more about skateboarding.
My skate school is now a CIC, so that's like strictly business now. I used to mix the two. It's just at Shanks Skate School on Instagram and Facebook. My website is slightly neglected, but I will be working on it, and that's just www.shankskateschool.com. And then my personal Instagram is just Cath Shanks. That's where they can find me, and my DMs are always open if anyone wants any advice or feels like they might want lessons or anything like that.
Amazing. Cath, I can't wait to see you in the summer at VC, hopefully.
I can't wait this year.
But in the meantime, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you for having a conversation with me.
Here are the takeaways from this incredible episode. Number 1, you don't need to be reckless, but taking measured risks will help to push you out of your comfort zone. Number 2, find those moments that give you joy and do more of them. 3, if you find something you want to try but the idea still scares you, find a way to start small. Do it where no one can see you. Often our biggest fears are simply built up in our own heads, and if we can just get going, they dissipate. 4, your biggest disappointment can also become your biggest breakthrough. Having her football dream taken away from her, Cath was then able to make room for other things that eventually led her to her love of skateboarding. 5, changing direction in life and careers is never something to be ashamed of. We're human beings who grow and evolve consistently. 6, take the time to work through how you feel and what you want to do next. Give yourself thinking space. 7, if you're feeling stuck about which path to take, look back over your life at the situations where you wish certain experiences could have gone differently. Was there something you did where there was a lack of support, self-confidence, or something else that you wish could have been done differently? And this could become your starting point for solving the problem and getting going yourself. 8, if you can live in the present instead of worrying about the future, you will live a far richer experience. 9, Leaning into the things you love isn't just about finding joy, but it's about creating the opportunities you would never have even considered possible before. 10. Imposter syndrome doesn't have to hold you back. It's absolutely possible to increase your self-belief and sense of worth, which coaching can often help with. If you can believe in yourself and take that leap of faith, you have the power to change the trajectory of your whole life. Well, I hope you loved today's episode and it made you think differently, or perhaps nudged you into changing something in your life that's not working for you. I'd love to give you a shout out right here on the podcast too, so let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more of, or how you've been inspired to take bold action. Let's keep in touch over on Instagram at The Mischief Movement, or click the link in the show notes to sign up to my Mischief Mail newsletter, where you'll get exclusive insights on upcoming episodes and your chance to submit questions to future guests. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. Please keep spreading the word about the podcast. You're doing such an amazing job, and I'm also super grateful for your 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which seriously help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. Have a great week and keep making mischief. Ciao.
I'm going to burp in a sec. I'll carry on that sentence in a second. You know when it's right there.
Just get it out.
No, it's gone back down now. If you cut that bit out, everyone's going to be like, why the fuck are they laughing so much? He doesn't know which way to go. Right. I'm just going to drink some water.
Drink some coffee.
Okay. With my tiny water bottle.
It's bigger than your head.
Yeah. Right. I mean, to be fair, I definitely didn't.
I was literally crying. I was like, how do you expect me to ask questions when you're talking about farting like this?